Okay, so yesterday I watched episodes 6 and 7 of Symphogear G. So I'm about halfway through season 2, and depending on my progress over the next couple days, I will probably either get it finished tomorrow or sometime on Wednesday. I'm very much looking forward to it because I feel like these last few episodes have really been knocking it out of the park. So at the end of episode 5, Hibiki got her fucking arm bitten off by the moon monster, the Nephilim or whatever. So at the start of this one, it starts transforming, or like it seems like it. Like, gosh, you see it fucking swallow her arm, which I think happened at the end of episode 5 as well. Like, it's chewing on it, it swallows, you just kind of hear the sound, and it's so unsettling. And Dr. Ver is damn near having an orgasm. He's so excited. He's like, this thing is going to get so powerful. We can use its power. I'm going to save the world. And like the faces he's making are just so batshit crazy and over the top. They're really fun. And like I keep saying, and like I'm gonna keep saying, it's the same voice as Gintoki, which to me just makes all of the over the top crazy shit that he does and says so much more entertaining. Like yesterday, I showed Clay the Tom and Jerry scene from Gintama, which I won't go into any detail about because it is 100% best that if you watch that shit, you see that scene specifically blind. It might be my favorite scene in Gintama. I feel like it is the most, like, that old term, and like a lot of like old school kind of like a fantasy, like a true name. Like this is the embodiment of what a person is, like the truest distillation of their soul. To me, the Tom and Jerry scene is that for Gintama. I, with or without context, I mean, context doesn't really do much for it anyways. It is certainly worth watching. But moving on from Gintama back into Symphogear, I love how Ver's allies fucking hate him. Or Ver, not Ver, my mistake. But, just... Sorry, brain stopped for a second. Because, like, the other girls, Maria, Akatsuki, and Tsukuyomi are seeing this happen. Like, they see Hibiki's arm getting fucking swallowed and how he's so excited. Like, dude, this guy is fucked. This guy is awful. Why do we work with him again? Why do we like him? And then Maria's flashing back to the way he was just slaughtering soldiers and then killed kids. And she's like, yeah, fuck this guy. Can we root for the other people to win? So, Hibiki's feral shadow form comes back, which I'm really happy to see. Like, I thought that shit was super hype. So that shit happens, and then she just kind of piccolos herself another arm, which I was kind of wondering, it's like, can a Symphogear do that? Is that possible? My understanding from what, I think it was stuff that happened in the next episode, maybe some of it was also in episode 6, makes sense for her specifically. Because one thing they talk about is how, her Symphogear is starting to fuse with her body, which you literally see in the very first episode of season 1 is the way it like symbiotes onto like all her like synapses and blood vessels and shit. But now like you actually see it happen more. Like there's a full-on scar in her body. You see there's this point in, I think it's at the end of episode 5, and I think also carries over to episode 6, where she's just radiating so much heat, like a leaf goes close to her and just burns up. You see her heart at one point in like an X-ray, and it just got all these like crystals and shit jutting out of it, like a Steven Universe style tumor. It was a really cool visual. But they are just like, yeah, the more she uses it, the more it fuses with her body. She might fucking die from this. Like, this is actively dangerous and killing her. But yeah, she fights on. So the fact that it's like, yeah, with the way her Symphogear has like fused with her body, I could easily, to me, it kind of makes sense that it could just make her a new arm because of that. But her body is an extension of her gear. Also, I think it was at the end of episode 5, she's chasing Dr. Ver, who is terrified of her because of when she went feral shadow, she nearly fucking killed him. Like, she was going off. Like, she beats the shit out of the Nephilim, which is so satisfying to watch. At one point, she gets on top of it, and basically, I think it was its heart, but she just ripped its heart out, threw it away. He's freaking out. Like, he's pissed off because she's breaking his toy. And also knows she's about to come kill me. And I think it was literally like Tsubasa and Chris had to hold her back because she was gonna just rip this dude in half. Which, I mean, yeah, Hibiki's a good person. She's the all-loving hero. Do I want to see her kill somebody? No. But she can get this one. Like, everybody gets one. Hibiki, this is your one. I don't think anyone's gonna blame you for this. But yeah, and then, like, at the end of the episode, like, Ver escapes. He's being chased by the government, sends some noise to go kill them. Hibiki sees him, he freaks the fuck out, summons more noise, and then she just punches one. While still in her human form, like she does her song, she hasn't yet transformed, punches the noise, and everyone's like, why the fuck did she not disintegrate? Which at this point, we as the viewers know, I mean, she's fused with her Symphogear, so it actually kind of makes sense. And then she transforms, she's like, my fists are I don't remember exactly what she said, but it was something along the lines of, whether I'm transformed or not, it doesn't really, like, my fists are an extension of me and my Symphogear, so I don't give a fuck. But it was a really kind of badass thing to see. Just human form punches something that should kill you and then takes no damage. Let's see. Oh, I forgot about that. There's, when she went feral, Ver summons a bunch of noise. They fuse together in this big slime, like Abaddon-looking thing, to which she just jumps into its mouth like fucking Drax and nukes it from the inside. That was cool as hell to watch. Let's see. Okay, so another thing that happened in episode 5, I think it's important to say, but I'm not quite sure the context of it, is apparently Hibiki was very heavily bullied, and I'm not exactly sure when this was. They talked about how people were calling her a murderer and a thief, and apparently, like, on her house it was written, like, murderer, thief, all that kind of shit. People were telling her to go kill herself. And she was living alone with her grandma and her mom. I believe it was her mom and not an older sister. My understanding is this is after what happened with Kanade. So either people might be blaming her for being like the sole survivor of that incident and saying like, well, if everyone else died, you should have too. Or, excuse me, it's like, you know, if you're the only person who survived, maybe you were the one who did all the killing. That's my assumption. I don't know if it's anything else more specific, and I'll find out later in G, maybe in GX. Sorry, brain stop for a second. But just seeing Hibiki, who is over this very, like, you know, very plucky, happy person, and seeing the kind of shit she has gone through, is like, yeah, that's actually pretty sad. That kind of hurt a little bit. That's fucked up. It also, I don't want to say this. So Tsukuyomi earlier in the season was like, you know, you just have empty platitudes. You've never known like real suffering. So anything you say about wanting to help people and protect people just feels empty. And Hibiki very clearly has gone through something. And even still is like, huh, you know, maybe she's right. Maybe I haven't. Which I guess is just really interesting when you think about it from a human perspective of comparing suffering. Like, I was talking to my friend yesterday morning. We were talking about just kind of some stuff, and like, how are you doing? How are you doing? And then I was talking just kind of about, like, my body. Like, I have cerebral palsy. I also have scoliosis. Like, my spine goes like that. Like, it's not very pleasant, because, like, I've seen an x-ray. I was like, oh, that... It looks like someone, like a snake charmer is calling a snake, and my spine looks like the snake slithering out of the thing. I was like, I got that. I have asthma. It hasn't been too bad in a while, and, like, my knees fucking suck. And then I was telling him about that, and I wasn't even, like, trying to super complain. It's like, yeah, like, it happens. Like, my back's a piece of shit. It's not super debilitating. I just wish it didn't hurt every now and then, but it is what it is. And he's like, damn, like, now I feel kind of bad for complaining about my Achilles, you know, just like wear and tear of, you know, being super active for years. It's just not as good as it should be. And like, I feel bad for complaining about it. It's like, dude, don't. Like, it's, your situation is different from my situation. Like, if you're in some, like, if shit has happened to you, you can reflect upon it. You can complain about it. You know, don't try to wallow in your misery, of course, but Hell, even sometimes that can help as long as you don't succumb to it, I guess. I think what I'm trying to say is Hibiki has clearly gone through something, even if I don't have the full context or understanding. And it's interesting for someone to basically tell her, knowing nothing about her, you have not gone through real suffering, and Hibiki going, huh, maybe she's right. Maybe the suffering I have gone through and the shit I have experienced in my life really isn't enough. It's interesting. That's really fucked. Just kind of looking at my notes, it's like, yeah, like most of the stuff I have is just kind of from episode 5. I don't have as much from episode 6. It's the thing that really stuck out to me is there's a conversation between Maria and her mom, and the mom was like dying, so like, fuck, we need to save Ver so he can help. Because they're like, we don't like him, we don't want to help him, but he can save mom, and we like mom, so sure. Which is pretty funny. So Akatsuki and Tsukuyomi start fighting off Hibiki, and they're like, we're actually not strong enough, so he injects them with a limiter, which is supposed to like make their swan song super strong, which that's what Kanade was on when she died. So they activate their swan songs, and Hibiki's like, fuck. If they do this, they will die. I know this, I've seen this. So then she uses hers to tune their songs so they don't die, which I'm gonna call bullshit on. Or she did it earlier in the season, so we know this is an ability she has. However, they also specifically said she's able to do it because, like, her power of, like, holding hands and shit, like the friendship circle. If I'm holding two people's hands, like, we're together, we're connected, we're united, I can tune them and, like, set their harmonies or whatever the fuck so they don't overheat and die. She didn't do that here. Now, maybe it's supposed to be, it's like, well, like, it's taken over her body so much, like, she doesn't even need to do that anymore, which, sure, maybe, but it kind of felt like, okay, like, this is what she can do, you set the parameters, and now you've just said, nah, she doesn't have to anymore. It's kind of bullshit. However, from a pure entertainment perspective, the fact that the both of them are like, okay, we gotta save the doctor, but we gotta save him so we can save mom, I'm going to use my ultimate. And then Hibiki's just like, cool. So in response, I'm going to tap 3 blue and negate that. Like, that's basically what happened. And I thought that was just kind of funny. Bullshit, but pretty funny. So after that happens, they don't die. They realize that, oh, we used our supers, didn't explode. She probably just saved our lives. Why? Why did she do that? Huh? And then go off with the doctor. Maria and her mom have a conversation where Maria's like, you're right, I think I need to be tougher. I need to be able to, like, really be Fiend. And then mom's like, let me level with you, kiddo. You're not Fiend. We did all these things to try to make her, like, come back in someone's soul, and, like, everything was a fucking failure. And at the end of the episode, some, like, debris is going to fall on Akatsuki and Tsukuyomi, and Akatsuki uses a barrier, which in a previous episode in Season 1 was something Fiend had used, showing that Fiend is still here. It's not Maria, it's Akatsuki. Is there really anything else? Not really. It's just, like, we're seeing more of Hibiki, like, physically deteriorating again, like, the super overheating, the crystal heart, I think there might have been something else. Like, you see a couple x-rays where it just looks really fucking bad. And the only other thing I wanted to say is that the ending song has been growing on me a lot more. I don't think the ending is as visually interesting as Season 1's. I hold that. But I think the song is actually really good. It's pretty catchy. So overall, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't a little disappointed. Just seeing what happened at the end of episode 5 is like, holy shit. She just lost her fucking arm. To quote John Wick, consequences. This is what happens, Hibiki, when you are not paying attention in the middle of a fight. When someone says shit to you and you freeze up, shit can happen. And given that we've already established your super, like, ability and the tuning involves having to use both your hands, you can't do that anymore. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens. How do you fight now that you only have one hand? Like, does that actually affect your balance or anything while you're fighting? You now clearly have a weak spot. How is that gonna work? You know, is there a situation where you're with Tsubasa and Chris are like, fuck, we gotta use a group swan song and I can't do the thing anymore. Maybe I can only tune one of you and the other has to take more damage. Now, Chris and Tsubasa, I feel like, would both kind of be like, cool, I'll be the one to take more damage. Like, they're not really going to get into a fight over it. But I'm interesting to see where this goes. There's a lot of potential. Like, is she going to have to go, like, undergo more training? Like, what fucking movies is Genjiro going to show her to be like, this is how you fight with one hand? This is really cool. Oh, no, she just went, grew back. It was metal as fuck. Like, I thought it looked cool. But it was like, man, I really wanted to see what you guys did with this. And then you just kind of did it. Okay. No, again, not to say that I'm like, man, these episodes are dog shit, because they're not. Not to say that I don't want to see where the season goes, because I still do. But it was like, man, this is awesome. Okay, now we're just back to cool. Although I can't even say that because, again, like, feral Hibiki just beating the ever-living man shit out of the Nephilim and then jumping into the other one's mouth. And how fucking terrified Vert is of her. It's just, like, it is on sight when he sees Hibiki. And when Hibiki sees him, it's also on sight. Like, it is still pretty fun. So that's what I thought of these two episodes. And I'll watch another 2, maybe 3 later. And hopefully we'll be done with G by Tuesday or Wednesday.